Ever notice how when a conversation matters the absolute most, we're often on our absolute worst behavior? Welcome to this explainer on crucial conversations, where we're going to unpack a step-by-step toolkit to completely transform how you handle your most high-stakes, emotional discussions. Today, we're diving into exactly why our brains betray us in these moments, and more importantly, how to fix it, drawing on decades of research into how top communicators navigate emotionally and politically risky situations.
Let's kick things off with this brilliant quote from George Bernard Shaw. It perfectly captures why our most important conversations often fail, right? We talk, we argue, we retreat, and then we just walk away assuming the other person magically understood our intent. But usually, all we've actually done is trigger each other's defense mechanisms. So to get beyond this illusion of communication, we need a reliable framework.
And here is our roadmap for getting there. Today we're covering 1. Spotting a crucial conversation, 2. Escaping the fool's choice, 3. Starting with your heart, 4. Creating psychological safety, 5. Mastering your internal stories, and 6. Moving from dialogue to action. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Spotting a crucial conversation. Recognizing the danger zone.
Think about how your heart pounds when your boss casually asks for a quick chat. That physical response happens because you're biologically wired to trigger a fight or flight response when 3 specific conditions are met. The stakes are high, opinions vary, and emotions run strong. You see, a crucial conversation isn't just a casual debate about what movie to watch. It's asking a coworker to stop hoarding resources or confronting a loved one about a deeply sensitive issue. When those 3 elements combine, our brains literally divert blood away from our logical prefrontal cortex right down to our primal brain. We are biologically designed to handle these complex human interactions with either flying fists or fleet feet. So, to override this biology, your very first step is simply noticing when you've entered that danger zone.
Moving on to Section 2, Escaping the Fool's Choice and Finding the Third Option.
Once we realize we're in a crucial conversation, we almost always fall into this mental trap. We create a false binary in our heads, fully believing we have to choose between telling the truth and keeping a relationship intact. When adrenaline hits your system, you convince yourself you only have 2 terrible options. You think, well, if I'm brutally honest with my boss, I'll get fired, but if I don't say anything, the company is going to make a disastrous mistake. That right there is the fool's choice. We assume candor and respect are mutually exclusive, but the best communicators, they absolutely refuse this choice.
Because they know the real solution is dialogue. Dialogue allows for the free flow of meaning into a shared pool, creating genuine synergy. I want you to imagine that everyone enters a conversation with their own personal pool of meaning, their own theories, facts, and opinions. People who are skilled at dialogue do everything in their power to make it totally safe for everyone to dump their information into a shared pool. It's like a giant puzzle. The larger this pool of shared meaning becomes, the smarter the group's decisions are. It effectively raises the group's collective IQ and creates a solid commitment to act, simply because everyone understands the why behind the final choice.
All right, Section 3. Starting with your heart. Working on me first, us second.
To actually get to that healthy dialogue, we have to start internally. Before you even open your mouth, you need to ask yourself these 3 complex questions to shift your brain away from wanting to win or punish and back toward your actual long-term goals. Let's look at a perfect example. Imagine Greta, a CEO, is in a tense meeting trying to cut costs. Suddenly, an employee heavily challenges her, and in a flash, Greta stops caring about cost-cutting and starts looking for ways to verbally punish the employee. Her motive shifted completely unconsciously. By hitting pause and asking, wait, what do I really want for myself, for others, and for this relationship? You literally force your brain to re-engage its logical problem-solving centers. You break free of the fool's choice by searching for that elusive and, as in, how can I share my concerns and build a relationship?
Which brings us to Section 4, Creating Psychological Safety. Noticing when safety is at risk.
Once our internal motives are aligned, we have to learn to spot when others feel unsafe, which is what drives them to unhealthy communication in the first place. When safety breaks down, people usually do one of 2 things. They withhold meaning through silence, like masking, avoiding, or withdrawing, or they force meaning through violence, like controlling, labeling, or attacking. This is a massive paradigm shift. Think about it. When someone starts yelling at you or suddenly gives you the cold shoulder, your gut instinct is to get angry back, right? But the most skilled communicators recode this behavior. They don't see silence and violence as maliciousness. They see it as a blinking warning light that the other person feels unsafe. If you can learn to step out of the content of the argument and just recognize these signs, you can start rebuilding safety instead of fighting back.
Now, to figure out your own default reactions, you can use the Style Under Stress assessment to see whether you naturally toggle towards silence or violence.
We all have a primary defense mechanism. Some of us mask our true feelings with sarcasm. Others go straight to labeling and attacking people with opposing views. Understanding your own tendencies under stress is absolutely crucial because you have to become a vigilant self-monitor. You can't fix a crucial conversation if you are completely blind to your own toxic behaviors.
So how do we step out of the content and restore safety? Well, you must establish mutual purpose as the entry condition and maintain mutual respect as the continuance condition for the dialogue. Mutual purpose just means the other person trusts your motives. They actually believe you care about their goals. If they think you're just out to win or manipulate them, boom, safety is instantly destroyed. Mutual respect, on the other hand, is the oxygen of the conversation. The second someone senses a lack of respect, the discussion becomes purely about defending their pride. If either of these is missing, you have to pause the conversation, step out of it, and actively restore them before you even try to resolve the actual issue.
Okay, Section 5, Mastering Your Internal Stories, How to Stay in Dialogue.
Let's look at how this all builds into the way our brains interpret stressful situations. This step-by-step process shows exactly where our brain sabotages us. Between seeing an event and feeling an emotion, we instantly invent a story to justify our bad behavior. Imagine you see a coworker completely ignore your email. That's the fact. But instantly you tell what the authors call a villain story. Oh, they are so lazy and they're definitely trying to sabotage my project. That story makes you feel angry, which makes you act out by sending a wildly passive-aggressive reply. We also do this with victim stories. It's not my fault, I did everything right. Or helpless stories. There's no point in talking to them, they're never going to change. To stay in dialogue, you have to ruthlessly separate the raw facts from those highly creative stories your brain just invented.
And to break out of those false stories, you can use the acronym STATE to share your views persuasively but not abrasively. The key here is starting purely with the facts before cautiously sharing your conclusion. Look, facts are non-controversial. If you say, "You've been late to the last 3 meetings," that's just a fact. Then you cautiously tell your story. "It makes me wonder if this project isn't a priority for you." Notice how tentative that is? You aren't accusing them, you're just sharing an observation. Then you ask for their path. How do you see it? By talking tentatively and encouraging them to test your theory, you make it completely safe for them to share their own pool of meaning without getting defensive. It's a real game changer.
Finally, Section 6, Moving from Dialogue to Action, Turning Conversations into Results.
Here is the final piece of the puzzle, safely concluding the conversation without violating expectations down the line. The key takeaway here is that just because you've successfully expanded that pool of shared meaning, it does not mean a decision has been automatically finalized. This is exactly where so many educated, well-meaning teams drop the ball. You have this phenomenal, open, safe conversation, everyone shares their views, but if you don't clearly separate the dialogue phase from the decision-making phase, people will absolutely walk away with different expectations. Someone might think that just because their idea was praised, it was adopted, which leads to massive frustration a few weeks later.
To move to action effectively, you must consciously choose one of these 4 decision-making methods, making it perfectly clear who is doing what and by when. Command is when outside forces just dictate the choice. Consult is when leaders invite input but still make the final call themselves. Voting is great for efficiency, sure, but it can leave the losers feeling resentful. And consensus means everyone completely agrees, which yields incredibly high commitment, but let's be honest, takes a massive amount of time. The secret is to deliberately match your decision-making method to the situation, and always document the specific deliverables and deadlines.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative question about how you'll consciously approach your very next challenging conversation. Will you choose silence, violence, or dialogue? The true beauty of these tools is that they don't require the other person to have read the book or even know the rules. If you start with your heart, look for safety, master your own stories, and invite them into that pool of shared meaning, you can dramatically alter the trajectory of your relationships and your organization. So, what's it going to be? Thanks so much for joining me, and happy learning.